And my name's Kelly Helfman. I oversee the fashion events for Informa Markets. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. And we're going to have a very important conversation around sustainability and fashion specifically. There's a lot to talk about. It's a very important conversation, and we can make a difference. So what I'd like to say at first is we are talking to consumers today all the time in our industry about fashion. And there is about, we surveyed 2,000 consumers. They were of the ages between 18 and let's say 25. And 86% of them said, we care about our clothing and where it's made and sustainability. But interesting enough, half of them don't know where to start, don't know really what they care about. So we're at a moment in time with fashion and sustainability that the guard is changing, this newer generation cares, and the brands that you're wearing today need to start making a difference. Everyone is at a different stage in where they're making a difference. I think it gets a little bit of it's overwhelming for our customers, my customers who take the booths at the trade shows and their big fashion brands of where to start. All they think about when it comes to creating sustainable fashion is it's expensive, price. Price over planet, planet over price, what do you do? And the reality is there's resources and solutions for everybody. They just don't know. And so we need to educate and have this conversation and talk about it because we know it's overwhelming. And there is no shaming here. So whether you're a fashion brand, a retailer, we are all at our own stage in sustainability. But we have to have the conversation because unfortunately, fashion contributes to a lot of negativity within our planet. Just to name a few, so we need to reduce overproduction and dead stock. We don't want waste to go in landfills. How people produce and manufacture is very important for the climate. Reducing the waste that occurs during garment production and recycling is huge. And ultimately, we are contributing almost 20% of the reduction. So where do we start? What do we do? I feel overwhelmed, but I have brought you so many great panelists today to help me and you understand how we can make a difference, where to start. So I am very, very excited to have my panelists join me. First off, I have Dr. Cindy Lin. She is the founder and CEO of Hey Social Good. Charlotte Mccurdy, she is a designer, researcher, and a professor at the Rhode Island School of Design. And Saima Chowdhury, who is the CEO and founder of one of our brands that just showed with us at COTERIE, Gray State Apparel. Welcome. It's Dr. Lin, Saima, and Charlotte. Thank you all for joining me. Welcome to panelists. So I have learned so much already by getting to know these three wonderful women, but I want them to tell you a little bit about their purpose and why they're here. So if you could each share with me a bit about yourself, your organization, and really just your personal contribution to the topic at hand. I'd like to start with you, Dr. Lin.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited to be here. I am an environmental data scientist, and I was an ex-Renew policy bureaucrat. I used to work at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency working on climate actions, standards, and sustainability initiatives. And I realized that we really needed to also work on data for good. I had a personal crisis of, are we doing enough, both in the agency and also myself personally? And I wanted to use data as a means to impact change. And so I co-founded Hey Social Good. We are a social impact data analytics company where we verify, assess, and guide businesses on their sustainable and socially responsible practices. And I'm really excited to see businesses and are encouraged by some of their actions. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you so much. Saima. tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Kelly. Great to be here. So I am the CEO and founder of Gray State Apparel. Gray State is a sustainable women's casual brand, and the whole point of the brand, the lens of the brand is how do we make life easier for women? You know, we have a lot going on in our lives. There's a lot of mental load. So what can we do to make life just a tiny bit easier? Because what to wear is a big question every day, right? So there are two things that we look at. One is the physical wellness and then the mental. So on the physical, we always try to design clothes that are seasonless, that are easy, goes with everything, and made in a sustainable manner. So we don't use harmful dyes and chemicals in how we make the product. And then the mental part is, there's, you know, as Kelly mentioned, people care about how clothes are being made, but they don't know where to go. So we are completely transparent and we're fully traceable because we have the entire manufacturing process mapped. So we try to share that information to make the decision a little bit easier for the consumer. So that's kind of where we are, and a big part of our values and what we stand for is making clothes in a way that's both environmentally and socially sustainable.
Amazing, thank you. And thank you for being a loyal customer of COTERIE's. Charlotte, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Charlotte Mccurdy, and as a designer I work on next generation materials, in particular thinking about decarbonizing material production and the potential for carbon negative materials within textiles. And then as a professor, I am teaching the next generation of industrial designers, apparel designers, built environment designers, and they are absolutely fired up and motivated by the question of sustainability and how they can show up in the marketplace, in the world, and lead with that mission. So it's a pleasure to be here today and having this conversation.
Thank you, Charlotte. So as you see, we have three very impactful women here that are part of this purpose from all different parts of the industry. And the next thing I like to talk about is just for each of you to share with all of us your journey in establishing, owning, and leading a company and what it means for you to lead by example and really create that social change. I'd like to start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's been an amazing journey for me, and I would say that leading that social change is probably the core of who we are, both in terms of, you know, my company and our mission. One of the things we really want to work on is to encourage and inspire people to take different actions. And that is really, really critical. And I think part of it is focusing on identifying better practices for people. And it's been a really rewarding experience, you know, going from policy making to identifying better practices for businesses and organizations, including nonprofits. That at its heart is what we all need to do to inspire change on both a micro level and I would say on a global scale. So it's really encouraging to work in that space, I think, right now. And the thing that we want to really highlight is how critical it is for every single business or organization to think about what their social impact and their social change could be, and to start today and not focus on that perfection. And so this has been one of the most rewarding experiences probably in all my endeavors, and this includes even, you know, kind of investigating cancer village problems on behalf of, you know, the United States. And so I would say, like, and it's encouraging to see many and many different types of businesses, industries who are taking that step forward. It keeps us going as a company, it keeps me going just kind of as I'm embarking on this journey.
Yeah, and we actually just wrapped up our COTERIE show here at the Javits Center, and we had Dr. Lynn stationed in a sustainability resource center where we created a mock shop, a retail shop for our retailers to see how they can do business as a retailer also in different, more sustainable ways. And I think Dr. Lynn just was very impressed on how much interest there was from different fashion brands and retailers asking questions of where do I start, how do I start, or excited to share their journey. And so it shouldn't be overwhelming. There should be no shaming. It could be one little thing like changing the light bulbs in your store or your warehouse. That's a start. For us as events at COTERIE, we decided it's time to take away the carpet. What we were spending, the waste there, it wasn't okay. And so, yes, does it maybe not look as beautiful? But we really message that we too, as an events company, are really trying to make an impact. So thank you for your help this whole week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's what's so great. I know that there's a lot of conversation about like we have to make it perfect. And I always say like you can't start a marathon tomorrow and you're going to be able to perfectly run that marathon, right? And I would say that's what stops most of us, the guilt. And part of my mission in life is to remove the guilt and get everybody to just start on a practice of some sort. And I know it sounds small, like changing a bulb or removing a carpet. It's not. Think of all the basic toxic fumes that you're actually, avoiding both inside a building, but also the waste that goes to a landfill, including not just the energy savings, but also the impact on our personal health. So I really think we need to focus on all those positive impacts and basically start building people up instead of tearing things down.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I think as a representative in the fashion industry, it's really important for me to highlight brands that are making a difference. And so I've asked Hey Social Good to help us with kind of verifying and not certifying, right? So being certified, she explained this very well to me, is like, we just want to give acknowledgement and recognition to any brands who are doing something. And so we've been working together this year to identify and celebrate those brands and share with all of our retailers in the fashion industry. This is now at our shows, whether it's in Las Vegas at Magic or COTERIE in New York. We really do have these brands who are starting to make a difference. Some of it is social impact, diversity, inclusion. Some of it is with the climate and the change in sustainability, but they are doing something or giving back. So they definitely have been recognized, and we really appreciate your help. So Simon, I would love to hear from you a little bit about the same question, just what this means to you, starting your company and being an example to create that social change.
Sure, absolutely. So for me, I know I will kind of go off of your point that it's small changes, right? It's a continuous journey. There will never be a point of perfection. So from the very beginning of the brand, first of all, I think it's a privilege to be able to lead a brand and to be able to have a brand, and that gives us some responsibility. And from the very beginning, our values were based on sustainability and making sure that we are responsible for how we act. So, but we weren't perfect from the day one, and we're not perfect now. But we kind of broke it down into small pieces, right? So first and foremost for us was, how do you define sustainability in apparel? Because there are a lot of different definitions. It's kind of hard to understand. So we sort of said, okay, let's look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we took each one and we said, what does this mean for us and how can we address it? So basically for the 17 goals, we have actions under each one, and that kind of helped us define our path. So it's a very big, scary topic to handle. This was a way for us to create a framework around it, break it down, and then it became a little bit more digestible. And each year, our goal is to address more and more, and under each goal, have more and more initiatives. So that was our first thing. Then when it came to, so there's two sides to fashion, right? You have your production side, and then you have your consumption side. I really do think that there is a lot of oversupply in fashion, so how you design and how much inventory you're buying is really creating a lot of waste. So for us, the process starts at the very beginning when we're concepting, going all the way back to the raw materials that we're using, the styles we're making. There's this whole thing of no repeating outfits. We're trying to get rid of that, saying buy good clothes that you will wear over and over again instead of throwing out after wearing it one time. So it starts with designing collections that will stay in your closet for a really long time, that you can wear with different things that make it look different and make it look fresh, and colors that work with different things. So it's all starts from there. Then it's coming to materials and making sure we're not using a ton of different fabrics that have no reason for being, right? So we try to break ours down into 25% of our collection. We always try to make it recycled. So, and what I'm wearing today, it's 100% recycled, this blazer, and and we are proud of that. We really focus on that. The second part is we use a lot of US cotton. And then the third is we try to use dead stock. So let's try to be as sustainable as we can in how we design, how we make it. Then comes the manufacturing process where the SDGs become super important, especially when it comes to apparel manufacturing. And then lastly, when we're shipping the packages, we work with USPS has a carbon neutral initiative, and we also work with One Tree Planted. So we plant a tree for every package that we ship. So it's not one thing, it's a combination of different things, and we're on a journey. We're not there yet, but we're trying the best that we can.
Yeah, and thank you, because Gray State Apparel is really making a change and leading by example for other brands that participate in our events and that are out there selling to consumers. And it's really impactful when large companies, maybe in the fast fashion space, even like Zara, who set goals to say, I'm gonna be X% sustainable and use recyclable materials. Even if it's 2025, they are gonna make a statement to get there, and everyone else, we're hoping that's gonna open up their brain to think, I need to be doing something too. I'm a big advocate for vintage fashion. There's so many different, vintage is coming back. The younger generation loves it. I think your blazer is beautiful. The fact that you can make that in a beautiful silhouette is wonderful. And then you hear companies like Hermes saying they're gonna make a bag out of mushrooms, or Adidas, it's fully out of recycled plastic. And so this is not going away. And we have to continuously talk about this for all the brands that are kind of rinse and repeating their production cycle. And it really does start in the factory with the supply chain. And so that's a big conversation that we have within our sourcing shows. Charlotte, it's funny, the first time I met you was actually on a Zoom meeting. We were talking about a project we wanted to do within fashion, and I remember just being so impressed by your terminology. So there were, I've never told you this, there were words that Charlotte were using that I was Googling them while you were talking. And they were words that were not eco-friendly and sustainability, and I can't remember what they were, but you took it to a level that I was like, she really knows a lot. So that comes to the same question for you, is why are you so passionate about this? Tell us a little bit about why you want to make an impact.
I'm trying to think about what I might have been saying.
I can't even remember. They were so impressive, I can't even remember.
But in terms of sort of how I try to show up in this space, I think I feel really aligned with sort of the conversation we've been having so far, in terms of not just trying to think about internal practices, but thinking about how I can show up as a catalytic partner to others. And there's internal things that can be done, like eliminating carpet, but the capacity of each of these organizations to be a transformative force for everyone that they are helping, that's how we're going to sort of have a cascade of decarbonization, a cascade of transforming these industries, and also making these new technologies and these changes price competitive. Fashion can be very dominated by price concerns, and the increase in price is not an extra cost, it's an investment in a system that will actually be able to survive.
You will get your ROI from that investment.
And it's an investment in your health, too.
Yes, your children's health.
And the individual health, the health of your business, the health of the entire ecosystem. So I try to show up with the spirit of generosity and collaboration and co-creating, co-investing in this future that we need to build. We need to do it urgently. And it's not just about sacrifice. It's an opportunity to build a not just less bad version of what we've had before, but an actually beneficial, potentially, system around fashion.
Thank you. So true. I mean, all of you, your passion just shows, and you can really see it, and it's people like you that are changing fashion and the contribution we could all make. So, today we're given this amazing platform by the Nest Summit to raise awareness on how fashion, the industry, can make a difference. And it's so near and dear to all of our hearts. I'm definitely learning a lot. I would love to hear just one thing that you feel is the most important to share and educate in terms of environmental and social responsibility. What would be that one thing that you can give this audience and the platform we've been given today? I'll start with you, Dr. Lin.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, my brain's racing because you're limiting me to one thing, Kelly. So, I mean, even just a side note of as Saima was explaining all the amazing practices she does, I hope that, everyone out there realizes it's hard, but she never gave up. And that is something I just wanted to highlight and thank her for. She did it on her own. There was she wasn't looking for recognition, but okay, my one thing, and this is it, which is make your health your #1 priority. And here's the reason why. And it's because when we talk about the planet as a third-party member, which is what we've been doing, do it for the planet, what ends up happening is you don't change your habits and practices, right? You continue to drink water with microplastics in it. You continue to ingest toxic fumes when there are car emissions. And so it doesn't feel personal, but when you make it personal about your health, and you're thinking like, oh gosh, I can't do that, then you will absolutely change your practice. So for me, the one thing is, don't make it about the planet, make it about your personal health, because by doing that, you're actually saving the planet. You will automatically change your practices immediately if I tell you like, hey, you're smoking, or ingesting toxic fumes. So that's my one thing, go away today of like, how can I change so that I'm as healthy as I can be so I can be healthy for the planet?
Yikes, I needed to hear that today. Like just thinking about my journey to get here this morning, I could have probably walked. Let's be honest, I didn't want to walk in the heel. Why did I pack some tennis shoes to walk? Check, one. Went to the Starbucks, got a paper cup. It's just like, I need to hear that. And I think we get so stuck in our routines, and I'm the first to be accountable and say, I probably could eliminate at least one of those things today. So thank you for sharing.
And I'm happy you said one, right? Because it should
I'm being realistic. I might not be able to give up the Starbucks, but I could have given up the cab ride, It's like, we have to just start somewhere.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Saima, what is the one thing you would like to share with everybody?
Yeah, that's okay, but I'm going to go off of what Dr. Lin said about health. So what we don't realize, well, we do know, but skin is our largest organ, right? So the clothes that you're wearing and how it's made, it matters. Yes. So when it comes to that whole thing about price and whether we're going to pay a little bit more or does it matter, or is the consumer speaking up about it, a lot of times we don't really care because there's so much to think about, right? So if there is one thing I would say as consumers, if we start to care and if we start to say it does matter how the clothes are made, it does matter what the impact is on the environment, it does matter how much we're consuming and overconsumption has an impact, then I think that could be a huge driver of change. So that's a big thing for me. If it's a one thing, it would be make it about your health and care about how your clothes are being made. I'm talking specifically about fashion here, but if you do, then it'll be an effect, and the retailers will care, and their behavior will change as a result. So.
Yeah, I think just do a little digging on the brand that you're purchasing or the retailer you're talking about.
Right.
Support those ones who are really trying to make a difference. Thank you for saying that. Charlotte, what's the one thing you'd like to share?
To be additive to what I think has already been said very well, I would offer that we are not all just consumers participating in a system. We are all also members of communities. Yes. And we have the power to show up at our places of work, our places where we live, and ask questions about what those institutions that we are all part of are doing to decarbonize, and what opportunity we're taking to take advantage of being part of a transition to a more livable future. We're not just isolated, lonely consumers. We are all powerful members of communities. And like an example I sometimes give is if you are sitting down at a job interview and they ever ask you if you have any questions for them, you can ask what they're doing to decarbonize their investments or their practices, and to show up in that way to show that you as a potential employee are making choices along those lines. That pushes change forward, because we need change now, and it's happening now. And so whatever we can do to make the decisions, to make the investments in this next year, we need to push over that edge.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah, well said. I'll give one.
Yeah.
So I am not an expert in sustainability, but I love fashion. And so I'll give one for the fashionistas out there. So we see fashion influencers are huge. People love fashion, right? We all have to wear clothes. Well, most of us. And so really want to say for the fashionistas out there and the people who don't want to repeat looks, and celebrities, influencers, they're being photographed and they have to have different looks. You can do that by not wasting and overbuying. So Simon talked a lot about buying the quality, repeating it, but in different ways. So thinking about different ways to style a piece, as opposed, if I buy these jeans, I'm wearing it in a Canadian tuxedo today. But I can wear these jeans with an oversized sweater and something different tomorrow. And this blazer then could be a different look over a fitted skirt. And so to go off of what you said, it's those quality pieces and restyling them, and also mixing in vintage fashion. There's so many different subscription-based retailers out there right now, like Nuuly or Rent the Runway or Buying on the Real, that are used clothing, and you can wear something and then send it back so you're not repeating your look. So that's just a fun fashion tip for all my fashionistas out there. Okay, so I think we might have time for only one more question, because we could sit here and talk forever. But I guess to really just give somebody one takeaway of what they can do. So we talked about what's most important, but like giving a very practical thing or an action. So I talked about, for a retailer, the light bulb in their store, or for my personal self, like, why didn't I bring a cup from home to fill up my Starbucks? Like, what would be one small change, it could be in fashion or not, that you can just share with us on a place to start?
One simple change, I would just say make it simple on yourself and commit to one goal. Something you've always thought about in sustainability, and because we're talking about fashion, and it is very important, it does make the world go around, you cannot ignore it. It has to be part of our partners to make change and influence change. I would say, adding to what you said, Kelly, which is really think about, minimizing your purchases, but how about removing 25% of, your closet?
Ooh.
And I say that
it's
because
hard.
that's what I've been trying to do myself,
True.
which is really hard, which is like, can I get to 25% smaller closet? And actually what I discovered is I have to be more creative, whether successfully or not, but more creative about putting pieces together, and it's like this super fun game. And so I say, commit to one simple goal and make it fun for yourself, because that's the only reason you're gonna stick with it. So.
I love that. That's gonna be hard, but it's important. And I think setting a real, like, numeric goal to it, even if it's for my husband or my kids, like, we all can do it too. So thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna try, maybe 10% to start. Okay, Saima, what would you suggest?
I would say sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming, right? There is a lot of things to think about. So really believing that even a little small thing can make a big change is a mindset change, and knowing that it's not going to be perfect. Like, you won't be wearing your sneakers and carrying a cup and doing all of that the day one, right? But every day, if you can focus on one or two habits that will make life a little bit better, that would probably add up. And then when it comes to clothing, my big thing again is repeating and really focus when you're buying. Just don't buy because sometimes we do impulse purchases, but if you could be mindful about, hey, is this going to be something that adds to my wardrobe in the long term, or could I wear this in many different ways? Having that thought just before purchasing, and then really taking care of your clothes so they can last a long time would be a good habit to sort of start.
That's so great. Charlotte?
I would say that I want to pick up the thread of sort of paralysis and shame that we've been talking a little bit about in this conversation. If you're feeling paralyzed or terrified as you look towards the future, I'm a big believer that passion breeds excellence, and excellence breeds confidence, and confidence breeds action. So being curious, bringing your heart to the table, and asking lots of questions, getting informed, demanding that information about climate change be presented to you in a way that's meaningful to you. And it's not just sort of these rote formulations that are maybe statistically accurate but are not emotionally meaningful. 1.5 degrees is it's a very abstract thing. What does that mean on a human scale? Asking those questions so that you can continue to show up, be empowered, be an agent of change in your communities. So yeah, if there's an individual action that I have to suggest, asking questions asking questions.
Can I just
And learn, yes.
add one thing?
Please.
Just to say, like, I love what Charlotte just said, and I would just say it works, and we can do it. I know it feels overwhelming, and my example is this, which is that in the United States, we've been successful at restoring our lakes and national parks.
Yes.
In 20, 25 years, we've done it as scientists. We can do this, we can kick this, but we have to work together. So absolutely, be the curious, ask the question, take that step, be impactful in your everyday.
Yeah, I think about if everybody in the world contributed 1 penny to something, how much money we would have
Oh my gosh, yeah.
to put towards a cause. And if we all contribute and do one little thing, how much we together can contribute to saving the planet. And so anything is better than nothing. And it's really about listening and learning. So thank you for saying that, Charlotte. I'm going to give a couple ideas you can do. Of course, they're going to be around fashion. If you want to buy yourself a luxury bag, Louis Vuitton, treat yourself to a Prada, try buying it used this time. Number one, you'll save some money. And number two, you're using a recycled leather instead of real leather. What about resharing? This session today will be posted. And resharing this with your own platforms and your own audience to raise awareness. I know I want to do that for my own platform, and just hope that even if 1 or 2 people listen to this today, I've made a change for the better. So sharing and educating. So I'll leave you with that. This was incredible. We are running out of time. I have this little countdown here that it's like the Oscar wrap. But any last thoughts that you want to share?
330 million acts. That's the number of the population in the United States. So every single one of us can do it. 330 million acts of impact.
Wow, thank you for saying that. Anything else? I think.
Go ahead. I'm good.
Just please, just listen, learn. We can't thank you enough for taking the time to be here today. You've already made that first step. And thank you for watching. So thank you, ladies. This was incredible.